What's up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 32 of the Keep It Down podcast. As always, I'm your host, Garrett, joined by my two brothers and co-hosts, Ty and Logan. Schmag, how you doing?
Great. Is it just me, or does the energy just feel a little different this pod? I feel like there's some a little bit of juice behind this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like pressing record just now feels a little bit different than it did, over the dark days of summer.
Exactly. TC, how you been, baby?
Yeah, I'm great, man. Super excited. I think I could answer Shmar's question. Yes, there is an electricity in the air, man. Football's back.
Yeah,
All right.
officially.
And that's huge for here on the Keep It Down podcast. The dark days are over. We've made it to the season. It's gonna be another fun ride, boys. I'm ready to get into it.
Yep.
Yeah, I can only agree. As for always, some quick housekeeping to start the episode. Check us out on Instagram at Keep It Down Pod. In our bio, that'll take you to our link tree, and you can find us wherever you choose to consume your content, whether that be YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, whatever you desire. Find us there. Check us out. Give us some love. Give us some feedback. Tell us what we can do better. All of that stuff. Boys, speaking about what we could do better, not us necessarily, but we're talking about Dan Lanning and the boys. And does it ever feel good to say that? The weather's cooling down. Big Daddy Dan is going to get her done up there, boys. So, Oregon, Portland State this Saturday. Um, in the past we've put Oregon in the Pickems, but we decided this year to kind of move away from that because it was pretty, inherently obvious who we were always going to pick.
Our
So we're
bias
moving
pick of the
to
week, dude.
a little bit of a different style this season. So, yeah, boys, what do you think about the game? How do you think it's going to go? What would you like to see? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. I kind of want to take a second. Last year was like a wild ride because Oregon kind of came out of nowhere to be competitive. This year, there's just a much different feeling going into the season. You know what I mean? I mean, one of you guys sent that post in the group chat, and one of the analysts had Oregon in the college football playoff this year. So it's a lot different to be the hunter versus the hunted, and we're definitely the hunters this year. Definitely a front runner in the Pac-12. We got Portland State this week, boys. Hopefully we're not overlooking them, but should be a pretty easy dub. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I mean, last year, obviously, love the ambition from the Oregon front office, but Georgia, I think, open the season last year with, a brand new head coach, a brand new transfer quarterback, a really young offensive coordinator. I think that was a really tall task to handle. So I think this year, just kind of going with a more natural kind of tune-up game, I think it's good. I think we'll get to see how the new offensive coordinator handles things. I think it'll be good for Bo Nix to kind of get a slow start to the season. Let the defense kind of handle itself and see who's going to kind of jump out to fill some of those shoes to fill of the guys that we had leave. So I think it's good. I'm nothing but excited. No nerves for this one on my side. Just excitement.
Yeah, I agree. You'd obviously like to see the starters get out of there early. These are the games where you just want to see everyone go in and out of there healthy, get the job done. Dan Lanning as a coaching staff doesn't seem like he's really into the whole stat padding kind of thing. So I think it's gonna be pretty business. Get the guys in, get a lead, get them out, get the young guys some playing time. And yeah, speaking on the differences between last season and this season, I mean, when you got to go in there and play Georgia week one, and and then you're playing with one hand tied behind your back essentially for the rest of the year. So
Right.
it's really nice not to have that. We talked about the schedule on a previous episode and really like the way it's put together. Yeah, so should be business as usual. Shouldn't be much of a difficult, tall task on Saturday. So hopefully we can get in and get out of there. So
Yeah, this is I'm thinking back to like the Mariota days, and we would go play Montana. We would go play Eastern Washington to open up the season.
Yeah.
And it was just a nice like welcome back party. I will say there's not quite as much hype going into this game that I felt going into the first game of last season. Obviously, we were opening up against the defending champion Georgia Bulldogs, you know what I
Right.
mean? Schmog said that was a really tall task, but I just remember the buzz going into that game. I was just like,
Yeah.
we are back, and it's not quite that same excitement, but
Yeah.
still, we're gonna see the boys out on the field, and I don't want to mention the Appalachian State thing,
Right.
but I hope we can really avoid that. I hope we look good and
Yeah.
everyone does their thing on this one.
I agree.
Yeah, it'll be kind of interesting to see how they navigate this, how much of the playbook they want to delve into. Got a trip scheduled to Lubbock, Texas, week 2. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see what we show, what we don't show, stuff like that. But boys, as we do on the Keep It Dumb podcast, every week we give a 5-star rating for the Oregon uniforms. And I will say from personal experience, when I first saw them, I wasn't the biggest fan. And then I saw the still Instagram shots, and I felt a little differently. So I want to hear your boys' ratings for this week's combo.
Yeah, so let's just do our preemptive ratings on this pod. We'll come back on the next pod and give our official ratings because we gotta see them on the field. That's the
Right.
true test, you know. But I will say, I mean, Oregon's gonna be the best looking team on all of college football this week. You know what I mean? We always are. We just set the standard so high. I think these are kind of run of the mill as far as we go. For it to get like a 5-star rating for me, it's got to be something kind of fresh, kind of new. I do love the black helmet paired with the all yellow look. I think it's going to look awesome. But, again, for me to give out that 5-star rating, it's got to be something new. And I feel like I've seen these ones before.
Yeah, I agree. I think the helmet, I love just the all black helmets with the and like these helmets have that cool carbon inlay. We haven't seen the carbon here, for a few years now, and I really like that look. I think it's super cool. Yellow's always a good one. I can take it. I can take or leave the yellow. I think some of my favorite Oregon uniforms are some of the green, black, white kind of colors. Um, but yeah, I mean, I really like these ones. I think they're gonna look super cool.
Yeah, I tend to like the yellow a little more at night than in the daytime. So, but yeah, I was gonna give them right in the 3 to 3.5 range, and then I saw that the helmets had the carbon inlay, like throwback to the Mariota days kind of
Mhm.
vibes that are coming back out,
Yeah,
and so that puts it right at a 4 for me. Like DC
yeah,
said, the yellow is yellow, and then but the helmets are innovation, and if we keep trending that way for the whole season, then I mean it's
yeah,
nothing but a treat for the viewers. So.
yeah. I'm hoping to see an all black uniform with those carbon helmets, or like the white with the black helmets that we wear sometimes. I think that'd be cool. Hopefully, they wear those more than once a season. That'd be cool.
Yeah, boys. Like I said, you got to see it on the field. You know what I mean? You got to
Oh
see
yeah.
what twist Bo puts on it. You got to see what Troy does
Mhm.
with it. You got to see what that boy Bucky does with it, man. Because he's got that certified drip out there on the field. So you got to see their little
Bucky.
twist with it, and then you can make your final decision after that. But so it's kind of hard to tell off of the Instagram or Twitter pictures.
Hmm.
Exactly
Right.
how they're going to be looking out there in the field. It's going to be fresh. We know that, but
Yeah.
we got to see it. You know.
Yeah, as always, looking fresh as always. Speaking of fresh, boys, we got a couple new segments, and I want to dive into the first one here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, for everyone listening, this is a little idea that the boys thought of here. So,
cooked it
this
up.
segment's going to be called 50 or Bust.
Hmm.
So, what the segment entails is the boys got $50 loaded up into a unmentionable fantasy draft service or a fantasy betting services, if you
Yeah,
will. Thou shall not
sportsbook.
be named. Send us a DM if you know who you are. Anyways, so we got $50 locked and loaded, boys. And so we're gonna kind of see what we can turn this into with weekly fantasy picks throughout the season here.
Hmm.
So we got our $50 loaded, locked up. Through further evaluation, boys, the picks are in. So this week is a little slim, not gonna lie. Cupcake games, the sports book is a little on off kind of
Yeah.
thing. So the boys are taking Quinn Ewers over 19.5 fantasy score. It's a great pick. They got Rice. You don't lose to food. Our second pick, we're taking Nathan Carter, Michigan State running back. They got him at a half rushing touchdown. Taking the over there as well.
Mhm.
Love it. There against Central Michigan. Should be a walloping, if you will. So, we're putting a 10 spot on it. It's a 3x power play. We're looking to win 30 bones here. So, get a couple weeks into the season. We can start betting some cash here, boys.
Yeah, I think these are both super solid picks. Quinn Ewers and now in his second year as the Texas quarterback at Texas. Um, so yeah, I think that's a pretty easy score. I don't know exactly what Rice is bringing to the table, but I think Texas plays them extremely well. I think they're going to throw the ball a lot, especially with him, being a little bit more comfortable in his second year here. So I feel like that one's definitely a no brainer there.
Yeah, definitely. The only risky part about that is, they are playing Rice, so you just worry about those starters getting pulled a little bit too early for
Right.
him to hit that fantasy score.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's unreasonable for him to get a couple of tubs and then enough passing yards to get him over that score for sure.
Hmm.
It was tough this week, guys. It really was. I
Yeah.
wanted to come out and be aggressive and put together just a nasty five legger, but we weren't comfortable doing it this week, guys. And so just to
Yeah.
give a little background on how this is gonna go, is we're starting with $50,
Yep.
and we're gonna see where that takes us. We don't have to bet the full $50 each week. The better we feel about the parlay, that's gonna kind of go into our decision making as far as how much we put down on the bet each week. This week, we're not really that confident at all. We don't know who's who yet, so we're throwing
Yeah.
a pin on it, and we're gonna see if we can add to that bank account a little bit.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I agree. And before we move on to the next section or segment, this is official disclaimer: the Keep It Down podcast does not endorse or condone any gambling of any kind. If you're struggling and need assistance, call 1-800-GAMBLER. They can help you out. Remember, only gamble money you're willing to lose. So don't do it, basically, is what we're saying. Be smart. Don't be an idiot. Don't be a bozo, as Coach Dimon would say. Boys, where to next, huh?
Boys, I mean, we can just kind of keep it in the same realm if you want.
Yeah.
I guess kind of the part two to this segment. When I get into the sports betting world a little bit, we're trying to lay down a nasty season long parlay here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put $100 down on it, and we're just gonna let it ride through the whole season. Okay, and so really, this is the time to put up or shut up. It could end in triumph, could end in heartbreak. You never know. But basically, the assignment was to dive into the sports book, find just the most solid, the most hittable props that we could find on there and see what we can come up with. We're going to try to go for a six legger here. Okay. We're trying to get that 25x. Here in California, we can't just bet straight up money line. You know what I mean? Because of the way that we condone ourselves here in California. But, anyways, um, we're going to do what we can with what we got here, boys. So, without
Exactly.
further ado, let's just start working through this parlay here. We're gonna go open discussion on this one, guys. Tell me what's jumping out to you. Which ones you guys are liking to lock in, and we'll go from there.
So I think like as looking through, I think one that I would really like to put on there, and this is for fellow special teamer Justin
Okay.
Tucker. They have him at 5.5 50-yard field goals made for the season. Now we know
Okay.
Justin
50 plus,
Tucker
right?
50 plus. So we know Justin Tucker, great kicker. TC, I know he
Yes.
plays. He's division rival for you,
Hmm.
but I mean, obviously a great kicker. They'd love to trot him out. He kicks really well in pretty much any weather format, whether he's in a dome, whether he's exposed in the elements, wind, no wind. He's pretty much nails anywhere on the field. So I think 5.5. I mean, he might hit that before halfway through the season. You know, so I like that one a lot personally. If we're going to
Hmm.
lay down a special teamer, I really like that one.
Okay. Okay. So we're
I was
going
eyeing.
Justin Tucker. He's at 5.5 for the season. We want to go over, correct?
I think he's going to be over that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like what, one every 2.5 weeks or something.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
like
17
almost
game
one
season.
out of three. Or
Yeah,
yeah.
pretty close.
I mean,
yeah,
you
yeah,
got to
yeah.
think anywhere within 60 yards. Like they're probably going to try to kick a field goal. You know what I
Yeah, if he
mean?
hits
Like,
if he hits one every 3 games, he'll have five through the first 15 games,
yeah. I mean, I
Yeah, so
think
he just needs one out of the last
yeah,
2 games.
and
yeah.
that's if he's on that pace.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So
So
I really like that one for the over.
okay,
Hmm.
Um, I'm saying Tony Pollard receiving touchdowns at 2.5 for the
Tony
season.
Pollard. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And kind of following that same vein, I also saw Derrick Henry receiving touchdown at 0.5.
Oh,
Yeah, I
that
And
mean,
seems like easy
so
money as well.
that does seem like easy money because he had that nutty screen pass touchdown against the Jaguars a couple of years ago that just
mhm,
Hmm.
makes you think.
still counts.
Okay. Boys, give me 1 second. Okay, I'm just getting to Tony Pollard at
Yeah.
2.5. Derrick Henry at 0.5. Okay.
hmm
So we're up to 3 here, boys. Now, I want to get your guys' opinion on this one, okay?
You got a good one for us
And
I
here?
already know it. I already know what it is.
well, yeah, it's the one that I mentioned when I first brought this segment up to you guys. But Derek Carr, 0.5 rushing touchdowns for the
Mm.
season.
I mean,
What are we thinking there? I mean, I don't know how many times he's rushed touchdowns in, but I mean, a QB sneak from the half-yard line,
yeah,
that's
or
got
like
to
a
come up as at some point during the season, right?
or like a solid like play action to Kamara, and he just kind of rolls out into the flat, and there's nobody there, kind of thing. Like he's got to get at least one, right? Like there's no way he doesn't get one.
Okay,
So,
so I looked into this.
How
yeah.
many?
He has one in the last 4 years.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. So
okay.
But Jared Goff, I think when we originally talked about this, Jared Goff was also in the discussion,
Yes.
and he has like one or two a season for the last couple seasons.
Okay, so do
He's a
we
little young.
feel
He's a little younger, a little more fluid, maybe. I don't know.
do we feel more confident in Jared Goff? He's on the same team again. If he scores pretty much one every season for the last 3 4 seasons, like Josh saying, do we want to go Jared Goff at 0.5?
Mac Jones is also at a 0.5.
Mac Jones is also at a 0.5. I'm kind of thinking Jared Goff then.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, if you think about it, Detroit loses Jamal Williams to New Orleans. Of course, we're talking about those two teams.
yeah,
So I think, my knowledge as a Saints fan, it seems like Jamal Williams in the building to kind of take up that Mark
And
Ingram
they have a
goal line,
great
short
line.
yardage. Exactly.
They have a
yeah.
great line. Okay, we're going Jared Goff.
I like that.
Okay, we're up to 4, boys. Okay. Now, do we want to bet any of like the pass? I'm kind of scared of like the pass
Passing
yards
yards
for
are tough, man.
for this season. I'm kind of nervous about that kind of stuff. Um, Same with the rushing yards.
Yeah, it's just tough, man.
Um, Schmug, is there any others that jumped out at you right away?
Um, I thought there was like a sack one that jumped out. They have Fred Warner at 1.25 sacks.
Yes,
But,
and
Hmm.
but Fred Warner, I don't know. He plays a lot of coverage, though.
Yeah, he's a very dynamic athlete.
Yeah, that's the only thing that scares me about that.
the more riskier one that I was eyeballing was Travis Kelsey, 95.5 season receptions. Okay, so I mean the
Mm-hmm.
sports books know what they're doing. He's basically 50-50 over the last like 5 or 6 years, whether he's going to hit that mark or not. But they just have no receivers this year.
Yeah,
Like I feel like it's going to be a very Travis Kelsey heavy offense. But if we're not comfortable with that, we don't have to go with that one. But that was one that I was eyeballing for sure.
yeah, yeah. I like that one.
Um, I mean, they have like Jay Jettas and Tyreek Hill all above 105,
Yeah,
and Travis Kelsey's 10 less. I mean, 100 reception season's not crazy. Um,
yeah.
will we feel more confident about the Fred Warner sacks or Travis Kelsey receptions? We thinking?
I mean, probably lean to the Kelsey because I just don't know how much Fred Warner plays
Yeah. I
in
mean,
that role.
yeah,
Okay, we'll select it for now. We don't have to lock it in
yeah, yeah. We
yet.
we have a couple weeks on this.
Okay.
I mean, how many sacks did Fred Warner have last year? Let's see.
We're up to 5, boys. Now, the homer in me really liked TJ Watt at 0.5 interceptions for the year.
Mm.
Old boy TJ, but again, it's 50-50 over like the last 5 seasons, whether he hits it or not.
Yeah, those 0.5s they're absolutely scrumptious looking on the freaking the app.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
you're telling me that guy just can't get one. He can't get his hands up on one or one batted ball or
I think he had one in the opener last year, and then the year before he had 2, but then
Yeah,
like the last 3 years before that he didn't have any.
yeah, that's rough. I bet.
Old TJ Swat gets his hands on a lot of balls, but I don't know.
Pause. I mean, I kind of like that one, man, because I feel like he's in a position a lot of times where that can be easily done for him,
What about you, Chach? Anything else standing out to you?
and it's just got to be one.
I mean, something's pulling me back to the Bo Nix 23.5 pass touchdowns.
Oh, we forgot about even going into the college world here, boys. Yeah. Okay. Because I was
So, I mean, Bo,
seeing what you were looking at Bo.
I always forget college football season is at the end of this.
yeah, pass touchdowns. And then also, I'm eyeing Michael Penix Jr. He's at 30.5.
I like Bo Nix more on that.
I was saying the under for Michael Penix, but
Oh,
yeah,
got it.
I agree.
Okay. I was reading
Okay.
the over under here. I mean,
I also saw on the receiving touchdowns, old Troy has it 7.5. I think he had 9 last year.
Ooh,
yeah.
If you scroll all the way to the bottom on receiving touchdowns.
Yeah. Ooh. I think Troy Wilson's gonna have a season, man.
Troy
But
Franklin.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Troy Frank. I was looking at Johnny Wilson, Florida State. Um,
I was also looking at that one, but
no, I mean Troy Franklin's gonna have a bunch of touchdowns, but then I mean Bo Nix is gonna have a bunch of pass touchdowns, respectively.
Mm-hmm.
We got all sorts of guys though too.
yeah, that's my only worry is how kind of crowded the receiving room got over this last offseason is my one worry about the Troy Franklin pick.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think,
Okay, so
yeah,
let's so far we have the Justin Tucker, Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, Jared Goff, Bo Nix, and Travis Kelsey. Do you want to take the Travis Kelsey off?
I think we take the Travis Kelsey off if we're gonna throw in a
Because
college one.
we can only do 6. And so including the Bo pick, we have 5 right now.
do we go Bo and Troy?
You gonna go Troy at 7.5 for the season?
It's tempting.
I think he had 9 last year. I want to for sure.
Yeah,
Do we feel better about the Troy pick than the Bo pick? I don't
I
know.
feel great about both, to be completely honest with you.
No, they can both be in.
Okay.
We
I feel
got
like we have to.
Bo for what 24 touchdowns for the season
Yeah.
passing.
How many touchdowns did he have last season?
29.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, let's go Bo. Let's go Bo and
And he threw for 0 in the Georgia game. He played Utah and Oregon State on one leg.
yeah,
So I mean, you gotta think if he can, of course, stay healthy. But
yeah. But I mean, yeah, Bo Nix also likes to run him in too, though.
true,
If it gets close on the goal line,
yes. But also, I think that we may not see as much of that.
you think?
Trying to protect him a little more.
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, I'm just one dude, but
I say we lock it in, boys.
Yeah, I honestly like both of those picks.
I
I'm
do
really,
too.
really confident. I think Troy Franklin is
And
probably the target, and I mean, Bo Nix is going to sling it.
yeah, and hopefully Troy Franklin comes out of this first week with like 2 or 3, and then we could just
Mm-hmm.
put her on cruise control the rest of the
I
year,
mean, he's going to
baby.
have at
Yeah.
least one this first week. I just don't know how Portland State's going to manage that guy.
Okay. So we're going over Justin Tucker, 5.5, 50-yard field goals made.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Pollard, over 2.5 season receiving touchdowns. Derrick Henry, zero point 0.5 receiving touchdowns over. Jared Goff for the one quarterback sneak
Dude,
touchdown
Let's
for the
go, baby.
year. Bo Nix is going to have at least 24 passing touchdowns. We're going over. Troy Franklin, 7.5 season receiving touchdowns over. We're betting the over in all of them, boys. Love it.
it's
Life's too
just
short to bet
it,
the under.
it's just too scary to go with some of those under picks, dude. Like, I mean, I think
Hmm.
that Michael Penix 30 touchdowns like is enticing for the under, but dude, I just imagine him going to play like Washington State or like, some scrub school.
Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado, and just throwing like 7 touchdowns because he's capable of it.
Yeah, like that's the thing. They'll just throw the ball 50
Yeah, they
times.
don't
That's
care.
what it
Yeah.
takes.
All right, boys. Any last words before I press place entry?
No, let's do it. Well, tell the people the odds. What are we rocking with here,
Yeah.
TC?
Um, so I don't know how to look at the odds here, but it's $100 bet. If we get 6 correct, it's 25x. So the potential payouts 2,500. 5 correct is just the 2x. 4 correct, we get basically half our money back at 0.4x.
Great.
So here we go, boys. Let's see if
So
it.
if we get four, we push almost kind of.
Well, yeah, at 4 we get basically $40 back,
Hey,
and we'll be ready for next year.
there we go, baby.
And like I feel like out of all
All
of our
right.
picks, I feel like there's only a couple that like we got to work for. I feel like most of those are going to probably be hopefully pretty automatic. I feel great about
Okay,
those guys.
so I think it's having an issue. It's saying football entries cannot contain more than one touchdown stat type per entry.
Mm.
So I'm wondering if it's the receiving touchdowns for Pollard and Henry.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, because they're both running backs.
But it's not like
So
flagging what's wrong with it. You know what I mean?
yeah, let's try to flip one of those out.
Okay. Do we want Tony Pollard or Derek? I think Derek Henry is a pretty much lock at the receiving touch for the year.
Yeah, you just never know what the Cowboys are going to do.
Okay. So
All right, back to the just when we thought we had something
NFL
done,
season.
boys.
Okay, so anything other than passing? No,
receiving touchdowns.
receiving touchdowns. My
Receiving
fault. I'm
touchdowns.
sorry.
Okay.
Hmm. Well, this just got a little interesting.
Now, what if we bet on that boy Bucky? Bucky's at 900 rush yards for the season. Let's see what he had last year.
Boogie.
He had 1,000.
Oof.
With what I would consider to be more of a stacked running back room. Well, he's going to split carries with Whittington this year,
Yeah,
obviously, but I mean, Bucky pretty much planted himself as RB1, right?
definitely.
Yeah, I'd agree.
If you guys are seeing anything else, though,
I think I like the rush yards pick actually.
Schmag,
I mean, if we're gonna bet on anyone, we're gonna bet on our own, right?
definitely.
That's what I'm saying. The risk it to get the biscuit,
Yeah.
baby.
Okay.
I'll ride for Bucky.
Okay, so we're going over on the 900 season rush yards. Um, Still going for the hundo. Okay, boys, it's still not letting me do it. We're gonna have to come back to this segment on the next week pod or something.
Yeah, we'll go through and
Or figure this one out.
yeah.
Well, that was anticlimactic,
Valid.
boys.
Very valid. Yes.
The picks are more or
Our
less in. There
apologies.
might have to be a tweak here or there, but the more or less the picks are in. You know how the boys
Yeah,
feel.
we'll
Yeah.
get it finalized this weekend. We'll come back and let you boys know on the next
Yeah.
pod.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Chach, would you like to hit the viewers with a disclaimer one more time before we head on to our next segment?
Yes. So the Keep It Down podcast does not condone or promote gambling of any sort. If you're having gambling issues or addiction problems, call 1-800-GAMBLER or look up your local jurisdiction for what to do if you need help. Don't gamble with money you're not willing to lose. Just be smart. Use your noggin. I know you won't, but we're telling you to do so anyways. So,
Deal.
yeah.
Okay, moving on. I mean, before we get into the next segment here, do we at all want to talk about week 0 college football that happened last weekend? Maybe we just call this a 2 minutes or less segment, 2 minute drill, if you will. Maybe, there was a couple games last week, a couple big games. I think Notre Dame, Navy, and then you have USC and San Jose State. I mean, maybe this will just be the haterade section of the podcast. But what are your boys' thoughts on week 0 for both of those critically acclaimed teams?
Man,
You know what,
go
Schmack?
ahead.
Sorry, TC. I love your 2 minutes or less section, so I'm going to go ahead and steal it and just let everyone know that this is USC's 2 minutes of fame in the Pac-12. They're so unbelievably, for lack of better verbiage, fucked this year. Like they just looked horrendous. They had a kickoff return touchdown, a broken play touchdown against Mountain West school. And so, I just like everyone to put everyone on notice that USC is not as good as everyone thinks they are.
Mm.
In statement.
Yeah, I mean, San Jose State was hanging around for a little while in that game. USC didn't really impress me too much. I thought they could have done more in that one. But I guess the true test will be this week when San Jose goes to play Oregon State. Is that correct, Chach?
Yes.
So we'll see how they look against them. But yeah, I mean, overall, last week was kind of like a nice little teaser, because there was football on the screen while there wasn't any really like big,
Yeah.
intriguing matchups. It was like, oh, look, like a real football game on the TV. Like, this is kind of cool. I turned it on for the beginning of the Notre Dame Navy game. That one quickly got out of hand, but it was kind of cool. I mean, they were in Ireland for that one.
Yeah.
So it had some excitement to it. And then like throughout the night, I was kind of watching on like the multi-view that YouTube TV rolled out. I was like watching, just flipping back and forth between games. Nothing really stuck on the TV too much, just because I think San Diego State and Ohio was like the best game on, and those are two kind of
Mhm.
lower ranking schools in my book. So
Yeah.
it was cool, but I'm ready for this week.
Yeah, I would I would agree with both routes that both of you took. I think it was good to have some college football back. It was really exciting. I was really hoping Navy could do something just so we don't have to listen to everyone talk about Notre Dame all season. But it looks like we're going to have the same old discussion that we have every year about Notre Dame. SC, man, I just don't understand how the season that you have last season and you still don't get rid of your defensive coordinator and like try to make something out of it because their defense is still horrible. It's absolutely horrible. It looked horrible against San Jose State. They're screwed. So, I mean, they won't play a real game until 3/4 of the way through the season. But, you know,
Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys, when you guys are watching like Navy play, do you get like some sort of thrill out of watching the triple option offense still going? Like for some reason, like it's just like kind of fun to watch, like especially even those old Georgia Tech teams. I know they kind of moved away from it, but like there's
Yeah.
some sort of thrill that goes along with watching that triple option. I don't know why it sucks. It doesn't do anything, but you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, the triple option, baby. Look at that.
Yeah, it's like you'll see like one like big like like play. It'll be like a super smooth like triple option they'll run, and they'll get like 7 or 8 good yards, and then they're like, oh dang it, that was our play for this drive. That sucks. And then they have to punt it, and it's like they don't like it's just how it is. But yeah, I always get a kick out of watching it.
Yeah, no, it's always good to have real football that means something on the
Mm,
TV, regardless of the USC and Notre Dame slander that we may or may not throw around from time to
yeah.
time. But I'll say this about Notre Dame: if I'm going to give them any flowers, if they actually somehow come out of their schedule undefeated, this will be the one year in our existence that I feel like they would actually deserve a playoff spot.
Who do they got,
I
Chach?
mean, Ohio State, USC, um, Clemson, or Florida State, one
Yeah,
of
I was
those
gonna say
two.
probably someone in the ACC.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's a pretty stout schedule. So, but I mean I still don't think they do it. But I'm just saying if there are flowers to be given, this would be the year that it would be possible.
No, I
So,
I am not revoking my ban on Notre Dame making it into the college football playoff. Like we have just been there too much for them to ever be allowed back in. Like it should just be like, oh,
mhm.
okay, Notre Dame's undefeated. Well, who's next? Who else we got? Who else we got? Like let's
Yeah.
not even consider it. You got like I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah, S- send them to the University of Central Florida Shadow Realm
Yeah.
League.
Exactly.
For real.
Yeah, so that was our 2 minute or less segment by Schmag, aka named Haterade. And, off the cuff too, impressive, boys. I've got a question for you. I want to know what the hardest position to play in football is. So this is one offense, one defense. Don't have to take too much time on this. I just want to know what your thoughts are.
I'll start it off, boys. I think defense is pretty easy. It's gonna be cornerback
Hmm.
for sure. Um, You are covering the best athletes on the field every single play, and they know what the route is. They know the timing that the ball is supposed to be delivered, and that is all a mystery to you. You can watch as much film as you want, but just put yourself in the position of trying to guard Tyreek Hill, and then the next week you're going against Mike Evans. So you just like anything and everything in there. You know what I mean? Like Tyreek Hill, obviously, you got to watch out for the speed. Mike Evans, those jump balls are going to get you. It's just anything and everything. It's got to be the toughest.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, I mean, I think in today's game, I would say cornerback is definitely the toughest. I think if you roll back the time here about 15, years ago, I think like middle linebacker is probably the toughest position to play on defense just because of I mean how much the game has changed and I mean like how big running backs and offensive linemen and just like the pro style offense back in the day. So if we were having this conversation 15 years ago, I'm saying middle linebacker. But I mean, in today's game, I mean, TC hit the nail on the head. I mean, you're just alone out there with the best athlete, and he knows exactly what's going on, and you don't. You
Hmm.
think you do most of the time, but yeah, I mean, yeah, corners for sure on defense.
Yeah, I'm also gonna have to echo that same
Yeah.
feeling. Um, I mean, yeah, you gotta line up, looking him dead in the
Mhm.
eyes with the whole field at play for him,
Yeah.
basically, and just go ahead and make the play.
Hmm.
So that's why, like, I think it's so unique that like the Jalen Ramsey's, Marshawn Lattimore, Stephon Gilmore, Christian Gonzalez's of the
Mhm.
world who are just like still in that bump, and it doesn't even make sense to me how they're able to do that at such a high
Yeah.
level. So, but moving over to offense, boys, what are we thinking? I think this could go a couple different ways.
Yeah, I really have two schools of thought on this. I think mentally, it's going to be that quarterback position, pretty obviously. You're in charge of a large group of guys, getting everyone lined up, and especially at the pro level, you're checking plays and reading the defense, all that kind of stuff. I think physically, I think running back's going to be pretty tough. You're getting hit on every play. Whether you're blocking for the quarterback, you're getting the ball, you're on a play fake, whatever the case may be, you're getting hit by a large human being on every single play. So physically, it might be running back. Mentally, I'm going quarterback.
Yeah, I think for me, offensively, I gotta say it. I mean, quarterbacks get enough flowers as it is, but I mean, I'm gonna go with like tight ends, man. I mean, this is the thing about tight ends, man. You are expected to be tough. You're expected to be able to block like a lineman, right? And you're supposed to be able to block defensive ends, defensive tackles on certain scenarios, linebackers, corner safeties. But you're also expected to run routes like a receiver and catch like a receiver. So, I mean, you really have to have a really well-rounded game. I mean, you got to be smart. You got to know all the line checks, but you also have to know all the hot route checks, like all that stuff. I think tight end is definitely one of the toughest positions to play offensively.
Yeah, I have two schools of thought as well. Um, my first one's center. I feel like center is a very sneakily hard
Sure.
position to
Yeah.
play. Because, I mean, it's just like any lineman, except you got to fucking snap the ball and
Yeah.
then block the guy who's lined up
Uh-huh.
in front of you. And so that was my one. And then my second one has an asterisk on it. I think left tackle, specifically on obvious passing
Sure.
downs, is probably one of the hardest positions to play
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
football. I mean, when you got Miles Garrett or TJ Watt or whoever, I mean, pick your poison. It could be even a second round
Yeah.
caliber guy lined up across from you, and he knows the quarterback's throwing the ball. Like, what are you supposed to do in that
Yeah.
situation? I mean, again, like, inside, outside, it just doesn't
Mhm.
matter. So, yeah, those are my two picks, boys.
Yeah, I do want to give a shout out here, though, to the special teams world and specifically the punt returner.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to say that, you know, number one, catching a punt is an undercover hard job to do. It is a
Hmm.
skill for real. Like, um, hard to gauge the ball, number one, coming off the foot funky like that. It's in the lights, all that kind of stuff. But then you're thinking about a live game scenario. You have players running down the field. Where you're at on the field, also, you're supposed to like plant your feet on the 10 or 15-yard line, depending on your coaching. So knowing where you're at, where the other player's at, also trying to
Hmm.
catch the ball at the same time, pretty tough.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, coming from the other side of the ball, snapping, like going down there. I mean, it's just one person most of the time back there. You know what I mean? You're just alone. And if you drop it or you like don't judge it correctly and something happens, I mean, there's no one to back you up back there. It's you.
Yeah, and like realistically, you have 22 people
Hmm.
running
Hmm.
at you. While this is all, because your dudes are obviously coming back to block the gunners and all
Yeah.
that shit, and then you got the whole punt team coming down to
Yeah.
tackle you. And so, like, I mean, when you get 22 people converging on one person on a
Yeah.
football field, definitely gets a little dicey. You got to catch the ball. You got to know when to fair catch, when to not fair catch, when to let it go, when to, just accept that you're going to catch this ball and get fucking flattened by
Hmm.
some dude. So, you don't have to let this ball bounce or
Yeah.
anything. Like, it's just
Do, do you guys
crazy.
remember like back in the day doing punt lines?
Oh yeah.
It's like that conditioning at the end of the practice or whatever. And
Hmm.
so, like, you would go for a while, and then coach would call out, like, "All right, we got to get three in a row, and then we could be done." Dude,
Hmm.
no more pressure than when the two guys in front of you both catch it, and you're the guy up that has to catch it for everyone to be able to go home for the day.
Yeah.
Just you talk about shaking your boots, dude. Because I sucked at it. Number one, I never wanted to do it, but like I was like considered like a skill position guy, so I had to
Right.
be back there. Dude, the most pressure ever.
Yeah. Especially the punters will just hang them up there on you. Then it's just
Yeah,
dropping out of the off the moon, and you're like, yeah, it's tough.
yeah, because they're on like their 50th punt in the last 10 minutes, so they don't got much juice left.
Yeah, and if anyone knows anything about Tatchby, it's normally pretty windy. So not only is that ball hanging up there, it's also like wanting to blow like across the field.
The absolute
Yeah,
worst.
punt lines, dude. What a time.
Nothing better.
Um, boys, I mean, we have some NFL roster news. We can get into that real quick. We don't have a lot on that front, but a couple things.
Yeah, I just want to
Couple.
get you guys' kind of quick thoughts. Everyone's wrapping up with training
Hmm.
camp, preseason games, all that stuff. We're kind of
Yeah.
cutting down to that final 53-man roster.
Hmm.
A couple of things that I saw come across the timeline.
Yeah.
Number one, Chris Jones has not reported to camp, and it is known that he said that he's willing to hold out until week 8. How big of a hit is that to the Kansas City defense not having
Huge.
Chris Jones out there?
Huge. Detrimental, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty Chris Jones signs hole in their defensive
Yeah.
front. I mean, the guy just, I think he's one of those dudes who a lot of what he does doesn't get seen by the average
Yeah.
viewer or the average person even. Um, I think what he does for that defense that isn't necessarily always loaded with
Hmm.
talent. They're a mostly offensive heavy team with an opportunistic
Yeah.
defense. I think he's a big leader on that in that group. He's he's a veteran
Mm.
at this point. So you got to deal with that. He's leaving a hole that way as well. So I think they come to an agreement. How soon? I
Yeah.
don't know. Hopefully, both sides can come to something, and this isn't a Lamar Jackson esque kind of blow up
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind was Le'Veon Bell at the
Hmm.
beginning of his holdout. We all know how that went down. Just really sucked for all of Steelers Nation. Hopefully that's not the case here with Chris Jones. But yeah, I agree with Chach. I think a deal probably will get done. He's kind
Hmm.
of one of their cornerstone pieces, especially on that defense, man. Like Chach said, they're not known for defense, and he's kind of their guy on defense. So
Yeah.
hopefully a deal gets done there.
Hmm.
Um, Jonathan Taylor
Yeah.
couldn't find a trade partner for him. They weren't offering up what they were wanting for him. He's going
Hmm.
to remain a cult for the time being, but he's not off of the pup list, the physically unable to perform list. So he's going to be out for at least the first 4 weeks of the season. How mad
Yeah.
are fantasy managers around the country right now seeing Jonathan Taylor on the sideline?
Yeah. Whoever went up to go grab him, I mean, LOL at you. I mean, honestly, going up to grab him in just like before this whole thing happened within the last week or two, if you had your drafts early, like I mean, he wanted out of Indy, and they were doing everything they could to try to find him a new home. Didn't even have a team, and people were going up to grab him. So, I mean, that's a whole separate fantasy football conversation we can have. But goodness gracious, man! I mean, it's just been a roller coaster for him. You know, want to get traded, I want to leave, and then the whole running back holdout, NFL wide of 2023, where all the running backs seem to get together in a group chat and say we're not going to play this year until we all get paid more money, and then magically everyone started signing, and then Jonathan Taylor's just left out in the cold right now, man.
I mean, yeah, just the for Schmack's first part of that statement, that's what you get. Mima always told you, don't have your fantasy draft too
Hmm.
early. And you do it every year. You get too antsy, you have your fantasy draft too early, and it does nothing but cause problems. So don't do that in the future. Anyways, now back to real business. I think he
Mm-hmm.
finds a home again. I don't know, obviously, what the negotiations were, what the
Yeah.
Colts are willing to receive back for him. Obviously, first round selection in 20
Mm-hmm.
2020, something
Possibly,
like
yeah.
that. So, a fairly young running back in this
Yeah.
league that, and obviously, he was I wouldn't say generational, but an absolute superstar
Wisconsin, yeah.
his, rookie season,
Mm-hmm.
sophomore year. Yeah, in Wisconsin as well. So, yeah, I think he finds a home. I guess it's just really how long and what they want back for him. I don't know. It kind of seems like the Colts are a little
Yeah.
salty or about kind of how this whole thing shook out, which you wouldn't be, but because there's like the whole thing with his supposed back injury or whatever happened with that, and then like obviously this whole blow up happened. So,
Yeah.
a lot of times you just see teams move on from stuff like this and just get their brand and logo out of the
Mm-hmm.
media. So,
Yeah.
but we'll see. Time will only tell for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, it
So,
just kind of saddens you as an NFL fan and a football fan in general.
Yeah.
Just such a quality player like this, not going to be on the field for the start of the season. And
Yeah.
I mean, he's like Chop said, he's saying there's some issue with the back, but we don't know how legit that is or if that's just a way to stay off the field for now until he can try to find a new home.
Yeah.
Just a very strange situation, but like I said, it kind of saddens you as a football fan.
Yeah.
Um, Last one I had for you here, boys, was about the New England Patriots. Okay. And I want to give a little
Yeah.
bit of backstory to this one because they've been on some funky decisions the last couple of years. I mean, we're
Mm-hmm.
going into last year. They had defensive coordinator calling offensive plays for Mac Jones in his second season,
Yeah.
and that just did not work out so hot.
Mm.
Um, Now this year, they've kept Mac Jones on the roster, but they cut Bailey Zappi and Malik Cunningham. They have one quarterback on the roster right now, boys, and we're a week away from the NFL season starting. Like, I think Bailey Zappi won them a couple of games last year, and he just got cut. Like, and he was
Yeah.
their pretty solid number two quarterback. Just a nutty decision. Are you guys giving Bill Belichick the benefit of the doubt, or are you like, what has this boy been on the last couple of years?
This could only mean one thing.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady's returning. Like, what if in an alternate universe we see it pop up sometime between now and next weekend, or anytime really, that Tom Brady is returning to Foxborough
You
to
heard it
go
here
at it.
first.
Hey, keep it down exclusive. Just got off the horn with him a few minutes ago. I think we're locked and loaded for week one.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe Bill Belichick knows
Yeah.
something we don't. I don't know if it was quite
Dude,
to that
maybe
magnitude,
Belichick's going to
but
play QB.
yeah, I don't know if he's got his eyes on someone else, maybe
Yeah.
some trade bait of some sort. I don't know. Maybe he's got a little deal on the back
Yeah.
burner. So there could be something lurking. But okay, I have a quick side note question for you. Do you think it's better to have one quarterback on your roster that you feel like you trust, or three quarterbacks on your roster that you equally don't trust?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean the expression goes if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. Um, it's just it never works out. The whole like splitting drives,
Mm.
you got one style
Hmm.
offense on the first drive, and then we're gonna go with the change of pace guy on the next drive. It never works out. It throws off the whole offensive dynamic.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable. Mostly because
Yeah, it works for that's what I was gonna say. It works for a week,
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe.
mostly because, once you get a little film, you realize, okay, when number seven's in the game, they love to pass the ball and they're going to do this kind of stuff. When number 12 is in the game, they're going to run read option at you to death. So it's a real telltale sign. It's, way better to have one quarterback that you trust rather than three that you don't trust at all or
Yeah.
splitting time.
Yeah, I think splitting times. It's you need to name a starter. He needs to be your starter until you decide you don't want him as your starter anymore. You know what I mean? But also, I think the NFL just has this weird like obsession with keeping quarterbacks on rosters and guys that like what? How are you in the league? Like you haven't played a snap. Like you're literally just there in case every other option literally like is exhausted. You know what I mean? Like there are millions and millions of dollars still like for these guys to have a roster spot. You know what I mean? I mean, if you guys looked, I think it would like shock people if you look down like NFL rosters and looked at like quarterbacks who are still in the league, and you're like, man, I haven't heard anything about that guy in like 10 years, and they're still just a backup quarterback in the league. Which I mean, great for them. It's great, But the NFL just has this weird obsession with it, man. But so I mean, I don't blame the Patriots for just cleaning house. I mean, like I said, I think there's a trade incoming or something's gonna happen, but you can't just have one quarterback on your roster, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Or maybe they just want to leave. I don't know what they did. If they actually did they cut Zappy and sign him to a like practice squad deal
I
or
Yeah.
something?
believe, I mean, I know he was cut or waived or whatever the terminology is. I'm not sure if they've made it back to the practice squad or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this could be like a little bit of a cap circumvention
That's
of
true
some
also.
sort,
Yeah.
like trying to cut some cost here and there. But
Yeah,
who
I mean, I
knows?
don't think there's any way that they go into the season opener with just one quarterback
There's no
on the
way.
team,
Yeah,
you
especially
know?
with Mac Jones' history.
Yeah, so maybe they wanted to
Yeah.
exactly. Maybe they just want to keep someone
Yeah.
else and then activate someone weekly from the practice
Yeah.
squad or something like that.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, so just really strange decision. What are you guys feeling about Bill Belichick, though? I mean, he hasn't really done too much since Tom Brady's left the building.
Mm-hmm.
Any doubts about the guy post Brady era?
I mean,
I just don't know how much longer his style of coaching is going to
Mhm.
hold up.
Yeah. Uh, yeah.
Um, like I just don't like once your team or town or whatever your facility stops becoming a destination for players, it becomes very very difficult to win football games, especially in a league that just keeps getting more competitive year over year. So I mean, obviously the fans love Belichick and Brady to death, but I mean that can only get you so far. So I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see if he can, develop
Yeah.
some of
I
this young
mean,
talent. Christian
yeah.
Gonzalez is in good
I
hands.
mean, everyone
So
loved Dan Marino and Don Shula too, but I mean, like, you got to move on at some point, right? Like, I mean, they were great for
mhm.
their time, and it's awesome, but I mean, there comes a point we got to move on. And I'm sure Belichick's tired, dude. He's been coaching for freaking ever. Like, he's got to be done soon. He wants to go and hang out with his grandkids and not spend every fall in and out of an office dealing with overgrown crybabies every year. You know what I mean? Like, he wants to enjoy the rest of his life too. I'm sure.
Definitely. I guess the thing is like when you think about the Patriots, there's just not a whole lot that I'm like excited about. You think
Yeah,
about other teams that have been bad recently, and at least you can like point to a couple of things and like understand what direction they're going in. You know what I mean? You look
yeah,
at the Texans. Okay, you went out and got Stroud and Will Anderson, and you have a very young group of guys, kind of that core that you're building. Even so,
Yeah, D'Amico
yeah,
Ryan's at the helm.
exactly. The Jets have flipped around completely this year, so they're kind of a bad example. But you even look at someone like Atlanta. You can kind of see them starting to build with Kyle Pitts and Desmond Ritter and going out and get
yeah.
Bijan. Um, they have that cornerback from Clemson, AJ Terrell.
Hmm.
They are building, and so
Hmm.
it's like you can point to certain things that you're like excited about for their future. You know what I mean? Like they could just need to fill in some of that depth. And with the Patriots, you're like, you got Mac Jones and no receivers and
Yeah,
like a mid defense. Like, where are we going with this, guys? Are we in complete rebuild? Are we trying to be competitive now? What are we doing here?
yeah. It just really feels like they're just in like Brady hangover, man. Like they're just really trying to find their identity, and like Belichick's trying to find his identity post Brady. So is the whole organization. You know what I mean? That's really what it feels like. It's what it looks like, right?
Hmm.
Personally, I mean, they went up and they got Gonzo. So I mean, you're adding a good piece to your defense, but like I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's lost. They're lost. They've lost the plot.
Yeah, I think the Patriots are just in the midst
I
of an
think so.
identity
Yeah.
crisis, and they just need to get it sorted. Like TC said, either sell the farm and build a new one, or try to fix the old one. But you got to pick one. You
Yeah,
got to get
for
off the
sure.
fence, man. So,
Yep.
boys, the
Oh
long-awaited
yeah.
return,
Oh yeah.
our weekly Pickems are back, boys. Week 1. We're keeping tallies
Hmm.
this year, boys. We're still undecided on what
Yeah, I
prize we're
kept
going to give
tallies
the
last
winner.
year.
So more to come on that. Oh, Schmag kept tallies apparently. Yeah, Schmag did clean up, but this year we're going to pick a winner of some sort. We're going to do something.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. But boys. Did anyone see the final of the
Yeah, I did.
game?
I
I think
did.
it's 24-11.
I did. Yeah, that's it. That is what it was.
Okay, so what we're speaking of is Florida and Utah. So you got Florida at number 14, Utah. This game was actually this afternoon at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So before this podcast even started, boys. So this game's already
Yeah.
wrapped up. Utah caught the dub. Unfortunately, all three of the boys, as per standard, picked Florida in
Yep.
the group chat earlier today. Um, yeah, I really thought Utah was going to struggle, especially with
Two
a
backup
backup
quarterbacks,
quarterback,
dude.
and then they're kind of doing that quarterback by committee thing that we just
Yeah.
chastised. So we'll see how that kind
Yeah.
of shakes out. Yeah, I mean their defense looked
Yeah.
pretty decent. I thought offense, I didn't really see anything too crazy. It looked like
Yeah.
a pretty Kyle Whittingham esque performance. I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
know what
just
your guys'
gonna say
thoughts
it.
are.
Florida looked horrible. That is
Horrible.
the worst Florida performance I have seen like in recent memory, man. They looked slow, they looked sluggish, And like for all the athletes that they have on that team and the defense, the size that they have on that defense, they're slow, they're sluggish, dude. They're sloppy. Like it looked horrible, horrible. I know their coaches in their second year, transfer quarterback, but like it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Utah did anything to like overly impress me. Florida
Yeah,
just did not look great. I mean,
no.
just to kind of defend myself in my thinking here before the game,
Yeah,
Utah, you're without your, I don't know, 6 or 7 year senior at the helm.
yeah,
Seems like Cam Rising's been there for, I don't know, since I was 12 years old. He's gone for the night. You got an SEC team rolling in. Great game last year. I thought that Cam Rising being out was going to be enough to kind of sway it in Florida's favor, and
hmm,
they just came out flat.
yeah,
Seemed like they just were not ready for what was going to happen. And yeah, I mean, Utah, props to them. They took it to them.
yeah. Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Props to Utah. I mean, not for nothing. I mean, Utah still had to come out and win the game with backup quarterback. So great for them. Not such a great start for the boys on our pickems though. I mean, literally first one out of the gate, boom, 0-1, baby. But you know, we're all equal still. We're all equal.
Exactly. There you go. We're all equals. Yeah, I don't know if the elevation had a play in it, why they look so slow and sluggish all game. I mean, practicing in Gainesville all summer at, what,
Yeah,
10
yeah.
elevation? And then, going to Salt Lake City is
Mm-hmm.
up there a decent way. So, but also, I don't think that you can put this whole loss on
Right.
elevation either. So, yeah, Florida needs to figure it out, and they need to figure
Yeah.
out quick because I think the fans in town are already kind of starting to be over this whole science
Yeah.
experiment, if you will. But yeah, speaking of science experiments, Colorado at 17 TCU.
Yeah, boys. I don't know if there's really too much to say on
um,
this one.
Yeah.
I'm going TCU. I think Colorado's going to find out very quickly this week that it's a lot different playing, bringing your Louis luggage and playing against a bunch of other 5 stars when you have 5 stars is a lot different, than how it was in previous years for Coach Prime. I think TCU is going to kick the living crap out of them this weekend.
Hey, you know what? I rolled with TCU heavy last season
Till
when
the
everyone
end.
until the end, and yeah, man. I mean, I'm going TCU by a million here. I don't. It's gonna be bad for Rado. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I'm kind of interested to see what TCU is
They did
this
lose a
year.
lot. I will say that.
They Yeah, quarterback, offensive coordinator,
Receiver Lane
running back,
Johnson.
receiver. I mean, the list grows. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what TCU brings. Still, I think they win this in pretty surprising fashion.
But
So,
boys, how bad would we
yeah,
have to put our foot in our mouths if Colorado comes out and looks great and wins? Oh God, that would be a
yeah,
nightmare.
I don't care. I'm more looking forward to the "I told you so" than that. I mean, we could be wrong if there's any Colorado fans that
yeah,
tune in. You'll have your time next week if we're wrong about this one. Don't worry.
boys. These next two matchups are what our pops would call
Definitely.
tough sledding. First, we got the 21 University of North Carolina Tar Heels playing the South Carolina Gamecocks as a neutral site at the Citibank Field in
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte, there
Okay.
where the Panthers play. So, line's looking like 2.5 for North Carolina. Um, I think this whole game is going to rely
Mm-hmm.
on quarterback play. I think whoever plays better at the quarterback position, I think the rest of the game will be pretty much a wash. I don't think either team is really stand out in any other facet. So I think whoever wins this quarterback battle, whether it be Drake May or Spencer Rattler, will decide the game. And I'm gonna put my money on Drake May. I'm taking University of North Carolina here, boys.
Yeah, boys, I'm kind of undecided on this one. Um, Drake May is a great quarterback, and there's something about the way that Spencer Rattler and that South Carolina team finished last year. And for
Yeah.
that reason, I'm gonna go South Carolina on this one, boys. And going into this
Mm-hmm.
segment, I was really leaning towards North Carolina, but for some reason, something in my head just flipped. I'm going South Carolina. I'm doing it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you guys both know I've briefly shared my thoughts on Spencer Rattler and kind of his coming up in Oklahoma and then transferring to South Carolina. I'm not a huge Spencer Rattler guy, but dude, everyone has Drake May as like the number one quarterback that's going to go out of this draft. Maybe I'm a little salty because that's over our beloved Bo Nix, but Oregon played North Carolina in the bowl game last season, and I think North Carolina was without maybe one like of their good receivers, and he didn't really do like anything crazy where I was like, wow, like that guy
Yeah.
is like that's the guy. So I'm gonna go South Carolina, man. I'm going South Carolina. I'm going to Spencer Rattler. If he lets me down, it's over, and this is the last chance right here.
Yeah, I will say that South Carolina does have a villain arc
They
esque
definitely
vibe
do,
about the whole
yeah,
program kind of thing going on. Um, yeah, so I mean, I think that's going to be a banger,
Definitely.
though. Um,
hmm
Speaking of bangers, number 5 LSU at number 8 Florida
yeah,
State. We're looking at a 2.5 point favorite to LSU on the
yeah,
road. So that does speak volumes. This is just a massive game
yeah.
to have right off the rip here. I mean, these are two teams looking to playoff hopefuls. I think. To keep it short and sweet, I think LSU is going to out talent Florida State. Florida State's going to throw the ball. I think LSU is a much more dynamic team, especially in the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. That Harold Perkins
hmm
dude is a freak, and LSU always seems to just bring in top athletes throughout their defense. Thoughts?
One thing first, Jaden Daniels is back for LSU, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, this game is kind of the cherry on top for this weekend, guys. This is the Sunday game. This
Yep.
is, hey, boys, we're not done yet. Wake up Sunday and get back to it.
Yep.
Okay? This is the cherry on top game, man. And, I already kind of showed my hand a little bit. Jaden Daniels back for LSU. I loved what they did with him last year. I'm going LSU as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go LSU. Florida State's really kind of came out of like nowhere with like kind of the hype train going on this season. Decent season last year. Yeah, but I mean LSU, man. I think LSU is going to be a problem for a lot of teams this year. I think they're going to have a great season, and I think it starts 1-0 on Sunday.
Yeah, I find personally that Florida State fans and USC fans are very, very
Okay.
similar. Like we have the best quarterback in the world, we have the best offense in the world, and then that's what sentence ends. And then you say, and what else? And that's where it
hmm
starts and that's where it ends. Like, yeah, they have a pretty damn good quarterback and some good receivers, but what else? What's going to be the difference? Because LSU has the same, if not a better quarterback and, receivers and running backs and a far better O
Mm-hmm.
line. I think 3 out of the 5
Yeah,
are seniors this year. And so it could be a long night for Florida State if LSU is just going to Mario
yeah,
Cristobal this thing. So this one's kind of our
mm-hmm.
sleeper pick of the week, just because of what we saw
Yeah.
last week in week 0. We got 18 Oregon State at San Jose State University. So, yeah, I think Oregon State squeaks it out, but I think it's going to be really tight. I guess we'll see how ready DJ Uilongole is, I guess, and how quickly he's up to speed, and if is a Clemson problem or if it was a DJU
Yeah.
problem. So, like I said, I'll take Oregon State. Think it's going to be close.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go Oregon State as well, boys. I gotta say, I'm a little bit nervous about Oregon State this year. I
Okay.
believe they won 10 games last year.
They did. We finished with the same record. Yeah.
Correct.
DJ's coming into town,
Sure.
and I know he wasn't the greatest quarterback at Clemson. I get that. Like Josh said, is it a Clemson problem? Is it a DJ problem? We have yet to find out. But they make me a little bit nervous. They've always kind of had that little brother role, and it seems like they got a little bit of momentum going. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's Oregon, USC, Oregon State, and Utah as kind of those top 4 teams in the Pac 12, the ones you got to watch out for. all that being said, I think they take care of business this week, and I'm excited to see what they are this year with DJ at the helm.
Yeah, I think Oregon State. I think this is a close game because I mean San Jose State. I mean they got nothing to lose. You know what I mean? I mean if they go into their conference play, which I'm assuming would start within the next few weeks, and they have their two losses are from Oregon State and USC. Like that doesn't look bad for them. You know what I mean? They're still in the we got nothing to lose, so they're going to want to go and
Hmm.
pretty much go with the same game plan they had against USC. I mean USC is going to have the worst defense in the Pac-12 this year. Quote it. So I think Oregon State's defense plays them better.
Wow.
But Oregon State, I think, comes out with a win. But I think it's going to be close. Dangerous teams are the ones with nothing to lose, man.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be banger. Obviously, first week into college football, everyone's got the jitters. You feel the juice pumping through the veins. Everyone's got a little extra pep in their step going to work Friday morning. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, super exciting, man. Oh, anything else we'd like to touch on here,
Yeah,
boys?
it kind of makes me sad, man. This is it for the Pac-12, and there's just so
Yeah.
many good teams coming into the season. I think it's going to be a banger year for the conference, and
Mm-hmm.
in one retrospect, it's nice that it's going to be such a competitive year this year within the division to kind of send it out. But I mean, it is the swan song. This is
Mm-hmm.
it. This is our last ride, boys. So it's going to be a fun one, but I'm a little sad, I gotta say.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was just talking to Han about it earlier, and it's like, this is it. This is the last one. But I mean, I am glad though that like we're coming into the season where like there's teams with like a lot of attention surrounding them. Oregon, USC. I mean, if you just look at the quarterbacks alone for each school in the Pac-12 this year, I mean, minus obviously a couple, but like great quarterbacks and quarterbacks that are capable of throwing for a ton of yards and teams that are capable of scoring a lot of points. And like, so I think if the Pac-12 were to go out on a season, I would want it to be this one.
Yeah, I mean, like if you would have told me, 4 years ago that 4 to 5 transfer quarterbacks would come in and kind of almost just
Yeah,
revitalize this conference that was once, a plethora of talent and like just crazy to think about. And then,
yeah,
who knows where we go from here, whether it be, playing Ohio State and, in conference games. And I mean, it's going to be something, man. It's a shame that it had to come to this,
yeah,
I think personally, but
Definitely.
you know,
yeah.
yeah, super stoked to, make some danky food, watch some
Yes,
danky
sir.
football. And I mean, you ain't got to wait long for even better football to be played because week 2 is
Yeah.
absolutely jam packed. So be sure to tune in next week, boys. We're gonna have an absolute full slate, a bunch to talk about. I mean, the games are just
Yeah,
going up from here. This
absolutely.
is just the beginning. Anything else we want to touch on? Any notes?
I
Anythings
mean,
we got?
if we're going to in local news, I mean, Tattoo Warriors varsity team starting out the season 2-0. Huge wins over Burroughs and Highland. So congrats to those boys. Off to a great start already. Super excited. I think they're at Taft tomorrow, and then I think we'll all be in attendance for the Wasco game following week. So yeah, congrats to the boys on the first 2 wins, and looking forward to this season. It's gonna be a fun one.
Yep, I'm ashamed to say that I've not been there in person yet to any of the games, but I have been keeping up on the classic hometown sports, bro.
Yeah,
Hey, and you guys look great. I've been watching the highlights. Defense is looking great. AJ's been doing his thing. It's a really senior heavy team this year, so I think it's a great
Mhm.
year for us to make some noise and excited to see
Yeah,
where we're going.
heck yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, boys. Just keep on pounding their away, boys. Just as soon as football comes, it goes, boys. It's just devastating. Just when it gets here, and then just when you think you got something good going,
Hmm.
then it just leaves, just like that. Yeah, so I think that is effectively going to do it for us on the Keep It Down podcast, episode 32. Football's back edition, boys. Why don't you tell the people something to resonate with
Yeah,
them, huh?
guys, thanks for hanging with us tonight. I was gonna say, We're talking about the what the winner should get for our weekly pick'ems at the end of the year. If you guys got any ideas, maybe we'll put up a little post on Instagram or something and get some feedback from you guys on what you think the winner should get.
Mhm.
Make it realistic though. You know what I mean? We're not gonna go too crazy with this. It's gotta be something fun and attainable. It ain't gotta be something too crazy. But other than that, have a great weekend watching college football, and thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah, guys. Thank you so much for listening, watching, wherever you're digesting this from. Nice long weekend this weekend. Make sure you stay safe. Enjoy it. Lots of football on this weekend. Enjoy it responsibly. Don't be a bozo. Enjoy it. We're back. Hey, football's back. This is it. This is it. This is what we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, and I mean, if anyone sees any
Mhm.
juicy prop bets out there, be sure to hit us in the DMs with them. We're always open for some suggestions from the public. So, as always, be good people. Take care of yourselves. Peace.